Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. These are early hours of the night or morning, 3:30 a.m., close to 4 o'clock actually. And I just wanted to, alhamdulillah, they have not opened the door for the sisters to arrive. They allow me to arrive, alhamdulillah. I just wanted to share some important things with you about whatever level you are at with the Quran, even if you have not even started with the Quran, how to make Quran your best friend. Quran is not something that somebody comes to Islam and suddenly they develop this intense love for the Quran. It is not like that. It is something that develops. But how does it develop? I can only share my own experience, and perhaps some other people relate to that as well. I came to Islam after embracing other religions and found falsehood in them, and I found that they worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when I came to Islam, and when I read actually Surah al Fatiha, this is what basically 15 years of search, Surah al Fatiha brought me to Islam, realizing this is Allah talking, this is our Creator talking. He's talking about how great He is and how merciful He is, and that there is a judgment day, and that we are to worship Him alone and no other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I hung on to it like as if my life depended on it. I started reading it, just could not read Arabic properly at all, English understanding. The first thing that I did was I read the entire Quran in English language that I understood, to just get an idea what is in the Quran. So once I realized what is in the Quran, this all of a sudden did not burn fire in me. It opened up in my heart that this is Allah speaking to me. How do I get to know Him more? My process was, I started, my Quran has English and Arabic translation. I started putting numbers on the English and corresponding in Arabic, hoping that I had the right meaning. And I started, and of course all I had was one Quran. I had nothing else, no Muslims. This is the Stone Age, about 35 years ago. This is all I had, no one and no tools, nothing except the Quran. I just want to tell you, even though there are so many tools around nowadays, basically the Quran, if you have a Quran with translation in your language, that's the best thing to get started with. So I started memorizing word by word, Arabic, English, and I put them in 3x5 cards. And then I started memorizing the ayahs, and then I started memorizing, my Quran had a little bit of tafsir at the bottom. I would read it, make sure that I'm understanding it properly. And I did not have any intention to memorize the entire Quran. I wanted to know Allah more. It's like I have found Him after 15 years of searching. I have found Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran. And of course, later on you get to know Allah in so many ways, in so many ayats, so many signs. So I started taking word by word, ayah by ayah, reading it, understanding it, digesting it, and then memorizing them. Of course, I wanted to understand and memorize the short surahs so I can pray in expanded, and I kept adding. Again, my intention was not to memorize the Quran. My intention was one thing only, and that was to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only way I could know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, of course, read the Quran in the language I understand. This is just the basic, putting your foot in the door. What is Allah talking about? I felt that when I memorized an ayah, is the word, these words are the words that were revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by Angel Gabriel, through the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the word of Allah. It's like, how can I digest these to go into my soul, not just my mind, to go into my soul? The only way to do that is to memorize it. But I had no intention of memorizing anything without knowing the meaning, nothing. So I took like tiny little steps at a time, but I don't believe if I left a day, 30 years, again, was not my intention to take 30 years, was not intention to memorize the whole Quran. I was memorizing as I was going along, but later as I came to know Muslims and Muslim communities, and people tell me, oh, Surah Al-Nur, and every surah that had some significance in it, they would tell me, I would start memorizing that surah. I found that after a few years, I have surahs here, there, in the middle, somewhere in the end, had memorized it. In the meantime, nothing I memorized except that I knew the meaning. And it was like this love kept becoming more and more intense. Then the more I got to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more intense this love became. And just so that you know that I practiced Christianity for 7.5 years. I knew the Bible, I read the Bible, I was teaching the Bible. I knew what really got me my first start of getting to know Allah was through the Old Testament of the Bible. His behavior with the Bani Israel, and how much he favored them, and how much he turned against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, against Moses, and what happened to them. And now we see the result of it. What they are doing, this is an absolute disobedience, state of disobedience with their Creator. Anyhow, I did have this background, so I was not brand new into knowing who Allah is, but because I knew Quran is the only book that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed that has not been changed. Other books we don't know. And when there's falsehood, in even the smallest falsehood in a book, that means there's poison in it. So this is the only book that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed to us that we know 100% is accurate. So as I'm studying and learning and expanding, and of course within a matter of few years, I think after 3 years or so into Islam, somebody gave me the CD of Sheikh Hosari, and it was at that time again, the only way I could listen to it was put it in my laptop. I take my laptop everywhere, in the car, outside. And every verse I could listen to many times. So I'm listening and copying. And I don't have Tajweed. I didn't have Tajweed lessons or anything. I was just copying him. This made me more interested. If we memorize with the sound of a sheikh that we are interested in, that is meant to be for memorization, which is a slow recitation, Sheikh Hosari has really, I would say, the best Muallim recitation system. It is slow. You can nowadays with the apps, you can speed it up. You can put time in between recitation, between verses, between ayahs. So that became the love of my life. Memorizing, listening to him, repeating after him each verse. Sometimes when the verses is a little bit longer, 100 to 150 times listening, repeating, memorizing till I got one verse. And by the time I got this one verse, the meaning of it was solidly embedded in my heart and in my soul. So after several years, I decided I'm going to combine just join the verses, the surahs, connect them together so I can maybe finish the Quran. It was like maybe after 15 years, I came to the thought that, okay, as long as I keep memorizing, I have not stopped memorizing, I may as well just finish the Quran. But again, I just want to emphasize that my aim was to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was not to finish memorizing the Quran. You know, people memorize the whole Quran in 1 year, 2 years, depending on their age, and it is wonderful. But if you ask them what is the meaning of some of these verses, they don't know. What is the background, they don't know. So the aim for some people is memorizing, and that's not bad, because at some point this comes to their help, because they still remember, they're remembering the ayahs, and when they know the meaning, it becomes more meaningful for them. For me, it was not about memorization, it was about to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I continued, and sometimes I was able to do one page, you know, the Usmani Quran, one page, A week later, it became 2 pages per week, and alhamdulillah, I was speeding up in this process, and then alhamdulillah, after a few years, I was able to take 4 years of Islamic studies. I took 4 years of Tajweed, knowing the rules and everything. Things became more serious. So it was like, what else in this world can attract me more than this process? And I had a very busy life. It was not like I was not retired. I was in my 40s when I came to Islam, and after daily Quran memorization, it was April 15, 2020, that I finished. I just posted just a simple notice on Facebook and saying, today is the best day of my life. After 30 years of daily Quran memorization, finally I finished today at age 73. Oh my God, this went completely viral. And people contacted me from all over the world. They were actually telling me how I inspired them. Now they're like 40s and 50s and 60s. They're starting to memorize. The whole family has come back to Quran. It just, I never expected just putting such a simple notice is going to make such an incredible effect on people. And of course, I had written down my process, like I'm explaining to you now. So many people contacting me, asking me to help them memorize, and I'm only one person, and I'm not a Tajweed teacher. I did not intend to teach other people this way. I just wanted to motivate people to get on with it. But after so many requests, so finally I started a Facebook group, and I called it Raya's Quran Memorizing Group, and people joined. And I asked some teachers and who would be able to teach Tajweed for free, and volunteers, and I got volunteers. I got the best of teachers. SubhanAllah, this is like 3 years we've been going on, and we have so many people, we teach them Tajweed. But one thing I have to say that I find as a problem, people join because so many people want to memorize the Quran. First of all, I keep telling them, don't start memorizing the Quran unless you have Tajweed learning and studies, so you know how to pronounce correctly. And please memorize the words. I am encouraging to follow the same path that I followed myself. And people start, but soon they go back into memorizing, and then they do not know. So many people have memorized, they do not know them. They don't put the effort. And if you ask them, you say, would you like to know Allah better? Yes, of course. Well, how would you know Allah better if you don't know what you're memorizing? I'm saying this to you because it's very important to realize reading the Quran does have merit, has sawab, it has reward. Yes, even if you don't understand it, yes, there is no doubt about it. However, if you want to make your process more meaningful, try to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala word by word. Don't rush. Now we have Quran word by word. We have word by word, Quran word by word. It just gives you each word, the meaning of it, how to pronounce it, the whole ayah, how to pronounce it. It has so many possibilities, and there's so many great apps that you can use to read, memorize, listen to the sound, pronounce properly. And there are so many really qualified Tajweed teachers. I will put down in the information how, if you wanted to join our groups, you're welcome to join them. And like I said, nothing we offer that is for pay. If the teachers want to charge, that's up to them. That's a different story. But for yourself, they're just, no matter where you are, you will find a Tajweed teacher. But more than anything else, if you want to make friends with the Quran, understand what is in the Quran, to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, understand what His ways are, what His signs are, what He does want from us, so that sometimes in your life you come across some problems and you remember what Allah has said. You don't have to go Google search it, ask somebody else. It is right, it's right there. Even though I finished the Quran, alhamdulillah, I'm now 76 years old. My memory cannot hold everything that I memorize. But I tell you one thing, every single word that I have memorized has gone into my soul. I came to know Allah in the best way, in my ability that I could. Still, I got a long ways to go. I'm spending a lot of time now on tafsir. I am not able to hold everything because of my age. The memory has been affected, but nothing has left my soul. It's there. I came to know Allah in the level that He allowed me to come to know, and I wanted to know. Make Quran your best friend and start today in a process that is going to get you closer to Allah. May Allah accept it from everyone. Ya Rab. Ameen Ya Rab. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.